The move in Kroger certainly is interesting because, first of all, Kroger had a massive move into year end. So, depending on, again, you get this information, it's somewhat dated in hindsight. But the question for me, look, profits in supermarkets are only going one way. Look at this. They're going down. And ultimately, I think you have a dynamic here where you have a very overstored, a very overly competitive landscape where I think we know all the big box stores that are involved. I would not be a major buyer of Kroger here, but I do think that there's been a turnaround there and there's been a margin story. And you have to give the Oracle of Omaha the ability to say across all of his different properties, they must be seeing something. I believe that that's part of the insight that you have when you're Berkshire Hathaway is to be able to see through some of your other portfolio companies into others you may.
And so Kroger, of all of the names that he's involved in, doesn't surprise me that much because this seems to me like a classic Buffett story. He bets on things that don't change that much. You're always going to go to the grocery store. He bets on things that pay a nice dividend yield. This pays 2.27% prior to this big move. That's much better than you can get in 10-year Treasury bonds. That's a classic Buffett move, in my opinion. So that doesn't surprise me. I find the selling of Wells Fargo and Goldman Sachs kind of interesting because they finally kind of just got some momentum here. So he's selling into that momentum. And again, to your point, Brian, you can look at these and say, all right, if Berkshire's getting into it, they're seeing something. He's famously said, if the stock market closed for 5 years, I'd still want to hold these positions. So you can say, hey, these are long-term positions for him.
Feels like it's a different environment. Feels like getting rid of the financials is not a Warren thing to do. I'd rather be a buyer of the IBB versus Biogen. Has he ever bought a biotech?
No. I was surprised there, too. I mean, you just look at a name that volatile, it doesn't look like a stock typically that they would get involved in. If you look at the IBB, just as an example, though, it struggled at this 122 level, basically exactly where it is right now. So I think the coming days, weeks are going to be really telling for the overall sector. If you look at Biogen specifically at 10 times earnings, I think you could make a valuation argument there. And the chart does look like it's hooking a little bit higher. The 200 days moving up a bit. So I can understand that perhaps there's a catch-up trade, Biogen versus the overall IBB. We'll see.